You may not know it, but you owe a lot to two gentlemen named Joe and Harry.
Welcome to It Doesn't Take a Genius.
Ramsey!
Marshall, was that a decent, like you were nervous about it where I was going to go with a Joe and Harry reference, but was that okay?
Yeah, that shouldn't get us in trouble with HR. Perfect. That's what we're looking for. Compliance. Yeah.
That's right. Right.
We don't want to be YouTube shadow banned for inappropriate material.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, we're talking today about the Johari Window. And everybody who's listening, like, before you turn this off, like, don't hit the thing. This affects every single one of you and every relationship that you have or every relationship you want to have with anybody in your life.
Bosses, coworkers, customers, spouses, children. This applies to every single one of us.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So if you've ever looked at somebody and they did something and in your head, or maybe you've even said it out loud, you went, what were they thinking?
Right.
Then we're going to help you figure this. We're going to help you lend some insight into not what they were thinking, but how they were thinking.
And also, if Bitmoji used to be popular, people would send these little sort of custom personalized emojis to each other. And one of the Bitmojis had your own face looking in the mirror in the bathroom and steam rising, and your face is just really somber, and you have traced into the fog on the mirror, why am I the way I am? Like, that also applies to this. And needing to understand yourself a little better. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. All of these things where we're confused about the other person and even maybe even confused about ourselves. And so the Johari Window, super simple with all good business diagrams. It's a 4-square box.
That's right.
There's just, 4 boxes.
Can I go ahead and say, just before you get into it, just so we can cut through the ridiculousness, Joe and Harry are the first names of Joseph Luft, Harry Ingham. They were in 1955. I think they published in 1955 the Johari Window. Joe and Harry, that's their names. They came up with this, mystical sounding Indian word, but it's actually just Joe and Harry. So Joe and Harry came up with this model that you're going to lay out for us, and it's so simple. Like you said, you can explain it in the 4 panes of the window. Yeah.
So the model is as simple as their naming philosophy.
That's right.
So, yeah. These guys, you can see where these guys were operating.
That's right.
But what was interesting, and the reason we neglected to do a podcast on it for a while is because it's so simple, but also because we introduced it to a class the other day, and it was 6-hour class, and at the end of all this stuff, this was the thing they said was most useful to them.
It was like 90% of the class was like, wow, I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, this was so helpful in all my relationships, in team building and creating trust with others, and it was crazy. All right, so enough. The 4 squares.
Yeah.
So imagine 4 squares on the horizontal. Yeah, the horizontal axis. Mm-hmm. You've got known to you and unknown to you.
There you go.
All right, on the horizontal axis, known to you, unknown to you. Things you know about yourself, things you don't know about yourself. And then on the vertical axis, up and down, you've got known to others and unknown to others. All right, so it'll make more sense. All right, we'll take each square one at a time. So I've got known to others and known to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this about me. You know this about me. We're kind of in agreement on all that. This is what we call the open area, or some people call it the arena.
Yeah.
Out in the arena, I know this about you. You know this about me.
Yep.
Common knowledge.
Yep. I know that you know this about me. Like, it's all just out in the open. It's in the arena.
Yeah, we joke about it. We talk about it, right? It's some of the things that allows us to have, connection with each other. We ask about it, things like that. So it's out there.
Yep.
So here comes this really weird one, though. Known to others, but unknown to you.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody else knows this about you, and you have no idea.
Yeah.
We call this the blind spot.
Yep.
And when I first read this, I was confused. I was like, how is it possible? I don't know about you, but I'm with me all the time.
Yeah.
So how is it possible I'm with me 24/7 that there could be anything on the planet that other people know about me that I don't know about me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we ask crowds this, they're stumped too. They're sitting there like, I don't know. Right? And then you start walking them through it. And one of the first things we do is the attention getter is we ask, and we'll ask our listeners, both of you, have you ever heard yourself on a voice recording?
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody just winces like, oh, yeah. And everybody who's ever heard themselves on a voice recording, if it was with other people, always ask the exact same question.
Yeah.
Do I really sound like that?
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole room goes, yep. That's what we hear every time you open your mouth.
Right. Right.
That's it. And so things like that, you'll never hear your own voice.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never see yourself walk into a room. You'll
Yep.
never experience your presence. What's it like to stand next to you? What's the energy like? What's the tone? What's the vibe? And you know this because the only way you have insight into your blind spots is feedback that you get from other people. And so you can't hear your own voice, but there are times when the reaction to your voice is dissimilar from what you hoped the reaction would be.
Yeah.
And you go, wait a minute, this isn't coming across like I hoped it would.
Yeah. I thought they'd be smiling right now.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah,
Right. That was,
right.
oh no, I'm serious. Or that was not that intense. So there's a dissonance between what you think you're presenting and giving to how it's being perceived.
Mm-hmm.
That's a blind spot.
Yep.
All right. So now in the lower left-hand corner, we've got unknown to others, but known to you. So I know this about me, but you don't.
Yep.
And wow, there's so much that can be in there, right?
Right.
Your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your goals, past experiences,
Yeah,
right?
very
There's all
private
these
things.
Yeah, it could be all these very private things. Well,
Or
yeah, they're not private. They're only private because you haven't chosen to share them.
yeah.
But
Or let's be fair. I mean, in some cases, it's because it's just never come up. It's not like I'm trying to keep this big secret, but you never asked. You never asked. You don't know that I juggle, because I never did it in your presence. No reason to, but doggone it, if you'd ask, I'd be happy to show you that I juggle.
oh yeah,
There's a silly example, but
yeah. Well, we had a wonderful teammate, somebody that we both know and love,
yep.
and for 10 years we worked with this person and had no idea they had a secret second life.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there were clues along the line. And so there were certain, in January, we'd try to schedule a meeting and this person would just fall on the floor, like, absolutely cannot be this week. I have plans for that week. I can't be changed. I paid for it in advance. Can't be done. Or he'd be complaining about the musical quality of earbuds and audiophile stuff. And you're like, and then only after the project that we were working on ended did he tell us that he was a DJ on rave cruises.
Yep. He went on the Groove Cruise.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a Groove Cruise. But yeah, every January he would go on these cruises and he would and do his thing. And it was one of this. It was known to him as unknown to us. But there were things that made you go, wonder why he thinks that, or wonder why he gets so excited about.
Why is this
that.
a big deal to him?
Yeah. What's the big deal about this? So, and we asked him afterwards. We said, "Why didn't you tell us? This is one of the neatest things I've ever known about a human being."
He generated a Guinness World Record with his DJing. That's for another day. But yeah,
he's in the book.
He's been a guest on this podcast, as a matter of fact.
Yes. So, and he told us, right? He had a fear.
Yeah.
And the fear was he was one of the younger guys on the project, and he feared that if word got out that he also, besides doing coaching and consulting in stores, was a rave DJ, that no one would take him seriously.
100%.
And so this fear kept him from sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is a huge part of his life. Completely fascinating. Never told a soul.
All right. So before you continue, let me summarize. We've got two axes, horizontal and vertical, and we're building 4 window panes in this little diagram. Things I know about myself and others know about me. Things I don't know about myself but others know about me. Things that I know about myself but you don't know about me, the others don't know about me. And now the only thing left is unknown to all parties involved. And this is terrifying.
I think, yeah, Joe and Harry kind of like, it could have been a 3-square model. All right. Yeah, but yeah, we got this. Yeah, it's on the chart. So yeah, unknown to you and unknown to others. And a lot of times in that box, they'll put the future. And
Yeah.
so when I'm talking about this, I'll ask people, did you know before 2020 how you would respond to a pandemic?
Right.
No, nothing. I had no idea, right? I've never been in this situation. So there are things coming up in the future that we have no idea what those things are, nor do we know how we'll react to them. We have some guesses, but there's this big unknown area.
Now, there's one other thing in that box, not just things in the future, but things that I just have not been willing to do any self-reflection on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So other people don't understand my reactions. I'm not even sure I understand my reactions, but I keep going through that cycle. And I haven't had a chance to, or haven't been willing to look in the mirror yet about what is going on here. I bring this up. I had someone who was a supervisor over me who had a very large unknown area. They would periodically freak out. And we never knew what was going to set them off. And you could tell by their reaction that they were equally unclear why they just got set off, but they were very uncomfortable about it. So they would have this big explosion of anger or what have you, and would be just as embarrassed as we were having to be in the presence of it. A large unknown area, I like to call it the jungle. It's like you just don't know what's in there. You don't know what's going to happen, and you can't predict it. And so it becomes very, very uncomfortable, which kind of points to your very, very true statement. We'd kind of like this to be 3 areas, right? As much as possible. Let's push that jungle to a smaller and smaller area, which means if we're doing that, we're expanding the open area. We're growing the arena.
Mm-hmm. Well, so sure. So, we think about, right, we observe things, we experience people, and, like I said, we go, what were they thinking? And we see a behavior like, okay, that doesn't match what I know about this person. And then we immediately schedule guess-a-thons.
Right.
Right. We're going to have a guess-a-thon where we're going to guess all the reasons this person may or may not be doing these things.
Yeah.
Whether it's a team member, a family member, a customer, right? Yeah. Maybe they didn't get enough sleep. Maybe they're hungry. Right? I don't know. We start guessing at reasons why what's being presented to us is being presented to us. So Joe and Harry had a neat idea, and they said, if your best relationships are those with the largest arena. Mm-hmm. Where known to others and known to you, if that area is large, you tend to be closer to those people. You tend to understand those people better. Yeah. And so I would ask, both our listeners to think about all the people that you have the best relationships with. Mm-hmm. How big is that area? How big is the arena with those people? And what people generally tell us is it's huge.
Yeah.
Even if it's a customer, you've got this customer and you guys get along great. They love you. You love them. What do you know about that customer?
Yeah. All sorts of things.
Yeah. I know that they vacation on this lake. They got 2 kids. They like, Australian Shepherds. Both of them are named Izzy and Buffo. They just start rattling stuff off that they know about each other. And lo and behold, that's where the great relationships are.
All right, so to quickly highlight some of these benefits that come with that better relationship, right? Well, first off, there's a benefit of self-awareness, right? If I know myself better, I can lean into my strengths. I can watch out for my weaknesses.
Yep.
But if I have better communication with the customers around me, the employees around me, the coworkers, the boss, they know what I know, and vice versa, right? And that's better communication, which leads to those relationships, right? Which means better teamwork. The knowledge of other people, understanding what makes them tick, understanding what I can kind of predict what they're going to do in a certain situation. That leads to a whole lot of trust, which is the very foundation of teamwork, of good customer relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a ton to be gained by this, growing the arena. And let me just cover something really quickly, because we may have our good friend, Dr. Dan Edgar, listening to this podcast. Maybe, I don't know. Dan, if you're out there, let us know. But Dan, I can hear him right now saying this is not super well researched. There's not a lot of empirical evidence that proves this tool. But set that aside for a moment and just think about it, right? Just think about what we've said. This is really just a very common sense framework. Knowing others, knowing yourself, others knowing you. That is a very basic concept. And it goes way back, right? That kind of self-awareness goes way back. Socrates, when he was on trial for corrupting the youth, he literally drank poison and executed himself as punishment instead of being sent out of his community where he wouldn't be able to learn about himself more with the people around him. The quote is, "The unexamined life is not worth living." So he picked poison over other, not being able to interact with other people and getting to know yourself better, examining your own life. Know thyself was an ancient concept. The oracle at Delphi, that was something at the Temple of Apollo that was written in gold letters apparently across it. In the Bible, at the same sort of time frame in the Bible. And we've talked about Jeremiah 17:9 before. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? Right? Like, it's just so hard to know yourself. You can lie to yourself. You can have your own blind spots. Get rid of those blind spots. And Jesus puts it in a way, he says, if you're going up to your brother and saying, "Hey, you got a little speck of sawdust in your eye. Let me help you with that." He says, "Hey, you've got a whole plank in your own eye. Deal with that before you deal with somebody else," right? Like, work on yourself. And Johari Window gives you a chance to do that. So, that's, that I just wanted to get that out there, that this is commonsensical. It's been with us for a very long time. But there are some practical things you can do to grow your arena.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll talk about that.
No, very well said. And yeah, I think because we've all experienced this, I think we intuitively know, I've seen what my relationships are like when my arena is small. I've seen what they're like when they're big.
When I can be open.
Yeah, and I can be open. So if I want to expand the arena a little bit to the right and shrink my blind spot, right? This is not rocket surgery.
Yep.
I would have to solicit feedback.
What?
I'd have to ask people, how did I come across in that meeting?
Yep.
What did you hear when I said this? What do you think my intensity level was during that discussion? Right? You're going to seek feedback from others to find out, okay, what are they seeing and hearing and experiencing when you interact with them?
Yes.
And so, soliciting feedback, and we've done that with survey tools where managers, we've surveyed their team members and they've given us feedback on the manager, and that's helped to, sometimes the blind spots are painfully exposed. Yeah. Sometimes people weren't all excited to see their blind spots. So
you have to absorb it over time and figure out what you're willing to accept as truth in the document, but. And by the way, we do offer employee surveys.
Yep.
We offer 360s where you get surveyed by your boss, your peers, your direct reports. There are a number of tools like that can do it beyond soliciting feedback. But soliciting feedback is cheaper And there are some really clever ways to do it. Like another guest of the podcast is Chris Hunsaker, and Chris taught us a really clever question that you ask informally when you catch somebody just shoulder to shoulder, shooting the breeze. Hey, let me ask you something. What could I be doing more of or less of as your leader, as your coworker, as your direct report? And it just gives people permission in a very safe way to give you some feedback instead of saying you're lazy. Saying if you showed up to work more on time, right? Like that sounds way less harsh than you're lazy, right? It's less judgmental and it's more about the behavior. So I can set it up by asking about the behavior, knowing that it's going to reveal something about what's going on with me. Like, wow, people see me as not showing up on time. Wonder why? Am I lazy? Right? Like you can come to your own conclusions.
Just simple questions like, as the leader to the team, or what do I do that frustrates you and the other team members the most?
Yeah.
What is it that I do that you truly appreciate?
Yep.
Right? Maybe I have a blind spot to the good stuff that I'm doing, and I might change it and get rid of it, and they'd be very disappointed. Yep. So yeah, just seeking feedback, asking questions through all those means, make the blind spot smaller. So now if I'm going to eliminate, and I don't think we ever said it, but a lot of times the known to you, unknown to others, they call the mask.
Yeah.
And so you're wearing this mask, and so the goal here is to just share more.
Share more.
Yeah, here's some of the things that make me tick. Before we hit record, you were telling me about a story about your dad and how he was stung, numerous times by bumblebees, and that was a long time ago. But now every time he's anywhere and a fly goes by, he overreacts.
Yeah, just a little bit of
Yeah. If I don't know the story of the bumblebees, and I see a fly by and him freak out, I'm like, what?
Yeah, what's the neurotic thing going on in his mind?
Yeah, what other skeletons are in that guy's closet? Which your dad has none. So
I don't think he does, yeah.
So the idea that, his behavior, right, George Carlin said this, those who dance are considered insane by those who can't hear the music.
Yeah.
He's referring to your mask. So if I don't know the story, your behavior looks crazy to me.
Yep.
Right. Why would you overreact in that circumstance?
Yeah.
I don't know your life experience. I don't know that what you've done or what you think that relates to that would create that reaction.
Yeah.
So the goal is, can I share more? Right. Here's my hopes, my fears, my dreams, and things that relate to that influence how you show up in life and work. So literally that simple. Solicit feedback, share a little bit, and then the arena starts to grow.
One other suggestion is that you can do some very formal things with a coach. You could have a coach come in and observe you as you lead your team. First off, if you do that and you say, hey, this person's here for me, they're observing me so I can improve my leadership, you just got a little bit of credit with your team that you're taking this seriously and trying to be a better leader. Mm-hmm. But the coach can give you observations of what they notice.
Oh yeah, and people really like that when it's the boss and their team member and they're having an interaction and you're there as the observer, and sometimes you'll redirect it a little bit, and the team member's like, yeah. That's helpful. That's a much better way to ask me a question or to get me to step up or whatever the conversation is.
It's very true. And we can take you through a DISC assessment where you're learning about yourself just by taking a little assessment like that, where you're learning about your own communication styles and so on. But other things that a coach can do with you is like a values exercise. There's a very specific exercise we have where we take somebody through identifying the things that are really important to them. And we don't mean things that should be important to everybody, like, integrity. Like, we're talking about things that are quirky for you, that make you tick. And that's what we're looking for, is the things that drive you, right? The things that motivate you. And for people to understand that, you sharing that with them is huge. Once you know it, and for you revealing that to yourself is important so that you have the self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Can I give a couple caveats before we close this out about this whole idea of expanding the arena?
Oh, certainly, certainly.
One is think of it more from your perspective than somebody else's Johari window. Right? In other words, the stuff that's under my control is me soliciting feedback on myself and sharing more of myself. Mm-hmm. It's not so much about me going to somebody else and saying, I don't really get you. I need you to open up more and expand that arena. That's not what this is for. And specifically, the reason that can be a bad idea is because you might have somebody who the mask is up for very intentional reasons. There may be something that's too private, too personal, too painful. Perhaps there's trauma in their past. I've done an exercise where everybody shared around the room, and it was a very innocuous thing that I asked them to share. And at the end of it, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how painful was that for you? And, most people are saying 2, 3, 1. And somebody with almost tears in her eyes said it was about an 8. And nobody could understand it, right? They just couldn't understand it. Well, there's something there, right? There's a reason that's there. So be prepared that, this is really about you and trying to work on you than it is about you working on other people by, forcing that window open. Mm-hmm. So that's a caveat. The other caveat is I just don't know your organizational culture enough to know what kind of safety is there to allow for self-disclosure. So if you're asking other people to point out your blind spots, maybe the question is, do they feel safe enough to do so?
Right.
So that might be up to you, right? That might be up to you modeling good behavior, saying, thank you for telling me that. I didn't realize you felt that way, even if you disagree with them, right? Mm-hmm. And letting them be safe enough to do that kind of sharing. So that's it. Those are, I think once you consider those realities, Johari Window can be just such a powerful tool for growing customer relationships, team relationships, and just better leaning into your strengths and working better as a person. You understand yourself better.
Oh yeah, no, very good points. And so you can start small. Start with somebody where your arena is larger already, and seek some feedback from them.
Yeah.
What's the adage? A good friend will tell you what you want to hear. A great friend will tell you what you need to hear.
That's exactly right.
And a lot of times that's in reference to your blind spots, or they may tell you need to let us in on a little bit of more what drives you, because some of the things you do are confusing to us.
Yep.
So start small with a trusted mentor, a trusted friend whose opinion you respect. And then, work on that, and then you can expand that arena outward with others.
I opened with a little lightheartedness about Joe and Harry. I'll close with some lightheartedness. I only had that little strategy you just mentioned backfire on me once. I had a manager who got roasted on a survey, an employee survey, and he just could not see how any of this was true. And I said, you know what? Take it home, show it to your spouse. See what they see here that's true. I saw him a month later. He said, I showed it to my spouse. She completely agreed with me. She was so offended that these people said that. Okay. No, he didn't last long. He was fired later. So.
Right. Yeah. The spouse has to live with him every day.
That's right.
Yeah. I can't leave. I can't, I don't clock out from the spouse job. Yeah. No, these things. No, that's not, no. That's not you, honey.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's, a trusted person that will give you believe will tell you the truth.
Right.
Right. That's what you're looking for. If this is an area that you want to go into, you don't have to.
If you want to go there. Yeah.
Yeah. This is up to you. And so, an exercise in each of the 4 boxes. Right. Okay. So think about your strength. Right. This is in the arena. People see it as a strength. Right. How do I leverage it more? Think about a blind spot you want feedback on. Maybe it's my, how am I running the sales meeting, or my one-on-ones, or some of the emails I send tend to get a weird reaction. Maybe I want feedback on that. And then what's one thing that influences my behavior daily but I haven't shared? That could be something that I can this in 2026. I'm going to try and figure out how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the unknown and known thing, right? It could be a skill that I want to develop. I've always wanted to develop this skill or have this ability, and I'm going to put that in that box and then make a plan to improve in that area.
Love it.
So yeah, just 4 different things you can do that relate to those 4 boxes. And then ultimately, as the arena grows, trust and relationships grow.
Yeah.
So the end result is worth the squeeze for sure.
Love it. Well, on that note, should we turn it over to a man who is the very personification of the man in the arena?
So go ahead and tweet that, or share it any other way you want. As always, there are no rights reserved, no trademarks, no copyrights. Share it if you want to. And join us next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius.
That's good enough.